Raja. He is the color of a fresh rain cloud, and his form is enchanting. When he wanders about playing the flute, he looks very charming. He is the son of Yashoda and the killer of King Kamsa, and he sports in the rasa dance among the groves of Raja. Krishna engages in this rasa dance underneath the Kadamba trees, and he resides in the forest of Vrindavana. He increases the ecstasy of his devotees. He is the reservoir of all love, and is the transcendental Cupid who uses his flowered arrows to increase the loving desires of the gopis. He is the pleasure of the gopis' hearts, and the abode of all wonderful qualities. Lord Krishna is the life of the river Yamuna. He is always absorbed in amorous pastimes, and he is the moon of the gopis' minds, which are like the chakora birds that subsist only upon moonlight. O mind, obey these words of mine, and sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names, which are full of nectarian mellows. Vibhavari Shesha Loka Prabhisha Nidrachari Otto Jiva. Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva. Vamana Shri Madhusudan Rajendra Nandana Shyama. Putana Khatana Kaitaba Shatana Jaya Dasharati Rama. Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara. Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bara. Rabanantakara Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari. Yeah. Brajera Rakala Gopa Brinda Pala Chittahari Vamshidhari. Jogendra Bandana Shri Nanda Nandana Raja Jana Bhaya Hari. Nabina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Bihari. Nabina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Bihari. Yashoda Nandana Kamsa Nisudana Nikunja Rasa Bilasi. Nandana Kamsa Nisudana Nikunja Rasa Bilasi. Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrinda Bipina Nibasi
Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrinda Bipina Nibasi
Ananda Bhardhana Prema Niketana Gula Shara Jojaka Kam
Ananda Bhardhana Prema Niketana Gula Shara
Gopangana Gana Chita Binodana Samasta Guna Gana Dham Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora
Nama Shuddha Rasa Gau Krishna Shasha Rato Bachana Mana Amor
Nama Shuddha Rasa Gau Krishna Shasha Rato Bachana
Vibhava Vishesha Aloka Pravisha Nidra Shariyoto Jiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Haya Griva
Hari Hari Mukunda Murari
Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Haya Griva
Hari Hari Mukunda
Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtadashata Shishman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtadashata Shishman His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopadan Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samavita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Krishna Janmastami Ki Jai All glories to the Summa devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the Summa devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the Summa devotees Hare Krishna All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga All glories to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, text number 21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha
Nandanaaya cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Nandagopakumaraya
Nandagopakumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Devaki Nandanaya cha
Nandagopa Kumaraya
Nandagopakumaraya
Kumaraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo Namaha. Mataji's? Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Krishnaya
Vasudevaya
Devaki
Devaki Nandanaya cha Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Krishnaya, the Supreme Lord, Vasudevaya, unto the son of Vasudeva,
unto the son of Vasudeva
Devaki Nandanaya,
Devaki Nandanaya
unto the son of Devaki,
unto the son of Devaki
Cha,
cha
and Nandagopa,
Nandagopa
Nanda and the cowherdmen,
Nanda the cowherd
Kumaraya,
Kumaraya
unto their son,
unto their son
Govindaya,
Govindaya
unto the personality of Godhead,
unto the personality of Godhead
who enlivens the cows and the senses.
who enlightens the cows and the senses.
Namaha,
Namaha
respectful obeisances. Namaha, obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherdmen of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Purport. The Lord, being thus unapproachable by any material assets, out of unbounded and causeless mercy, descends to the earth as He is in order to show His special mercy upon His unalloyed devotees and to diminish the upsurges of the demoniac persons. Queen Kunti specifically adores the incarnation or descent of Lord Krishna above all other incarnations because in this particular incarnation, He is more approachable. In the Rama incarnation, he remained a king's son from his very childhood. But in the incarnation of Krishna, although he was the son of a king, he at once left the shelter of his real father and mother, King Vasudeva and Queen Devaki, just after his appearance, and went to the lap of Yashodamai to play the part of an ordinary cowherd boy in the blessed Rajabhumi, which is very sanctified because of his childhood pastimes. Therefore, Lord Krishna is more merciful than Lord Ram. He was undoubtedly very kind to Kunti's brother Vasudeva, and the family. Had he not become the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, Queen Kunti could not claim to be her nephew, and thus address Krishna in parental affection. But Nanda and Yashoda are more fortunate because they could relish the Lord's childhood pastimes, which are more attractive than all other pastimes. Therefore, there is no parallel to his childhood pastimes as exhibited at Vrajabhumi, which are replicas of his eternal affairs in the original Krishna Loka, described as the Chintamani Dham in the Brahma Samhita. Lord Sri Krishna descended himself at Rajabhumi with all his transcendental entourage and paraphernalia. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore confirmed that no one is as fortunate as the residents of Rajabhumi, and specifically the cowherd girls who dedicated their everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. His pastimes with Nanda and Yashoda, and his pastimes with the cowherd men, and especially with the cowherd boys and the cows, have caused him to be known as Govinda. Lord Krishna, as Govinda, is more inclined to the brahmanas and the cows, indicating thereby that human prosperity depends more on these two items, namely Brahminical culture and cow protection. Lord Krishna is never satisfied where these are lacking. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Upakadah Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapara Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Jivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivashakan Vitamshta Hey Krishna Kurna Sindhu Dina Banu Jagatpate Gopishaka Upaka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sete Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kapatu Bhyasha Kripasandubi Vachaptita Nam Papani Pyo Vaishnavi Pyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Putali Shmati Bhakti Vikasa Swaman Itanamane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Putali Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschatya Deshatarane Shriyaf Patir Yagyapatif Prajapatir Dhyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapatihi Patir Gatishtandaka Vrishni Sattvatam Prasitatam Me Bhagavanstam Pratihi. May Lord Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of the devotees, the protector and the glory of the kings like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of the goddess of fortune, the director of all sacrifices, and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation on earth, the supreme all in all, be merciful upon me. Bhutir mahadbiri mafpur vibor nirmaya shitiyad amushi purashaha bhunkti gudan shudasha shudashatmaka solangashishta bhagavan vachamsi me. Today is Lord Krishna's appearance day. He's mercifully manifested in this world. I similarly pray that he'll manifest in my speech and manifest within and decorate my speech. So, this prayer, Krishnaya Vasudeva Devaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. This is spoken by Queen Kunti, and a similar prayer is again reiterated at the end of Shukadev Goswami speaking the 10th canto. So, who's Krishna's son? As both things. He's the son of Devaki, he's the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, and he's the son of Nanda Maharaj, and it said here, the cowherdman. Yashoda Mai too. He plays both parts. He's more approachable in this specific incarnation of Krishna more than other incarnations, as Srila Prabhupada has made the point in this purport. So, Krishna says, obviously, in the Bhagavad Gita, he descends himself into this material world, and he has different reasons for doing so. His appearance, at least as Kunti takes it, she takes it as bewildering because Lord Krishna himself, who is the otherwise unborn, who is otherwise Aja, the unborn takes birth within this material world, which is completely different from our taking birth within the material world. Krishna, he takes birth within this material world not out of any sort of cause. His appearance is causeless. Although simultaneously there's a reason. He has a mission to accomplish, and he does so with his own purposes, but he's not forced so out of karma, whereas conditioned souls are forced to do so. Parikshit Maharaj, actually Shukadev Goswami, he speaks to Parikshit Maharaj, he says this verse, O King, Maharaj Parikshit, but for the Lord's personal desire, there is no cause for his appearance, disappearance, or activities. As the super soul, he knows everything. Consequently, there's no cause that affects him, not even the results of fruitive activities. So Krishna, in coming to this material world on this day, it's not out of any sort, he's not impelled to do so either by any force. It's out of his own sweet will that he chooses to descend. But still, there's many different reasons you can take it as to why he descends. And Queen Kunti, she brings this up. So each and every incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission and they're described in Shastra. Jayadev Goswami, he's written within his Dashavatar Stotram, Palastya Jayate, Rama conquered the son of Palastya, Ravana, in other words. Daityam Dharayate, Nrsimhadev, he came to protect Prahlad Maharaj. Specifically, he came to kill Hiranyakashipu. Vedan Udharate. Hayagriva rescued the Vedas when they were stolen by the two demons, Kaitapa and Madhu. Balim Chalayate. Vamanadev, he came to cheat Bali Maharaj, specifically. So each particular incarnation of the Lord has a particular, you could say, reason for coming to this material world, a particular lila they enact, and a particular reason why they come to this material world. And they're all, in one sense, they're differentiated from each other. Nrsimhadev, for instance, didn't cheat Bali Maharaj. There's variety within the pastimes. And these are just some of the reasons. Obviously, there's innumerable pastimes. We sing about a few. I mentioned a few. Avatara hi asankhyeya harehe. The avatars, Sutta Goswami, in the first canto, 3rd chapter, he lists scheduled incarnations, a whole bunch of incarnations of the Lord. Hamsa avatar, the 4 Kumaras, he includes their Narada Muni, who are Shakti-Avesh avatars. Lord Ramachandra. So each and every one of them have a particular cause, reason for coming. The incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, some which we don't even necessarily hear about so much. Hamsa, Prishnigarbha, Vaikunta, Vishvaksena, Dharmasetu, Brihadbhanu, Matyashva Kachapa Nrsimha Varaha, Hamsa, Rajana, Vipra, Vibhurishikrita Avataraha. The demigods pray to Krishna within the womb. You have so many different incarnations. But specifically, on this day, Lord Krishna himself, and not, you could say, one of his incarnations, one of his partial incarnations, Lord Krishna personally decided to come on this day. Again, Prahlad Maharaj, along the same lines, Prahlad Maharaj, he prays, Itam Nritirya Grishideva Jashavatar. My dear Lord, you manifest among all species of life. You manifest among the aquatics, among the vegetables, among the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the men, the demigods. Vamanadev, he appeared amongst the demigods. Lord Nrsimhadev, you could say in one sense, he appeared seemingly among the beasts, and Lord Krishna appeared in human society, as did Lord Ramachandra. So in all species of life, the Lord incarnates. Why does he incarnate? Lokan vibhava yasi hamsi jagat pratipan dharma mahapurusha yuga nuvrittam. Just for the maintenance of the faithful and the annihilation of the unfaithful, you advent yourself in this way in accordance with the necessity of the different yugas, Prahlad Maharaj says. So, in other words, ida hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. When dharma declines, when religion declines, in other words, then Lord Krishna comes to again renovate those principles of religion, again establish those principles of religion. And it's only Krishna and his incarnations that can do this, or his empowered representative. Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat prinitam. Only Lord Krishna is able to come and establish the principles of religion. So there's many incarnations. I'm making the point. There's many incarnations, and they all have their own specific function, their own specific lila, and in one sense, their own specific mission. But in another sense, their mission is all the same. They come to reestablish the principles of religion. Srila Prabhupada says the mission is the same: to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes avatars come and they speak philosophy, just like Kapila Dev did. Hamsa Avatar, similarly. Krishna left behind his Bhagavad Gita. Some don't speak philosophy at all. Nrsimhadev, we don't have a count, at least within, I haven't read all the Puranas, but at least to my knowledge, he doesn't speak any sort of complex philosophy. Mohini Murti, she didn't speak any sort of complex philosophy, for instance. But nevertheless, philosophy or no, by their behavior and by their activities, they establish the principles of religion. So even though it may look different, even though it may look like a particular avatar is not speaking some sort of philosophy, etc., like this, they all come to specifically annihilate the demons and protect the devotees and establish the principles of religion like this. So the same principles are taught, higher or lower, depending upon the receptibility, you could say, of the people, and according to the time and place. Kapila Dev, for instance, spoke Sankhya philosophy. Lord Krishna also spoke Sankhya philosophy, but in a different way, you could say. Sankhya Yoga is there in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, actually throughout the Bhagavad Gita, you could say in one sense, but it's presented in a different manner. Even within the Bhagavad Gita itself, it's the presentations of the teachings. Krishna formerly said that he spoke the teachings of Bhagavad Gita to the sun god. But those teachings that Arjuna received is not that Krishna repeated the same shlokas like a parrot. Arjuna was in a very specific situation on the battle of Kurukshetra, whereas the sun god wasn't necessarily fighting, pitched in a battle against the Kurus. So the same basic teachings are there, but they're altered according to time, place, and circumstance. According to the need of the hour, you could say. But the whole purpose, and Krishna is doing so, Krishna is appearing and teaching, is to just rouse people to Krishna consciousness and ultimately induce people to surrender unto him. And yeah, for this purpose, he manifests the Vedas, he manifests the Itihasas, Puranas, and he gives his own, he speaks himself, Gita, etc., like this. And he appears on schedule. Srila Prabhupada writes, and the purport to 4.7, that the Lord appears exactly on schedule, namely at the end of Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Bhanu and 1 day of Brahma. So every day of Brahma, he appears exactly on this time, but he's not forced to do so. It's not that the time comes for Krishna to incarnate, so Krishna has to incarnate. Rather, Krishna just chooses, he continuously chooses and eternally chooses to do so, although he could simultaneously stop choosing to do so at any time. He's completely, you could say, he's not obligated to anything within this material world. So, of course, I'm listing all these incarnations. They're innumerable, as I've said, and ultimately they're non-different. I mean, we understand Nrsimha is Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj, he saw like Prahlad Maharaj, he was a devotee of Krishna. He was specifically thinking of Krishna. If you read the second, just like, what is that? Krishnan, Matirna Krishna Bhavatun Svatovad. He was specifically thinking of Krishna. So, but nevertheless, Krishna came in the form of Nrsimhadev. So they're all non-different. Departure evahi deshantaramam bipyata dipayate vivrita hetu samanadharama, etc. Brahma Samhita is like a lamp. There's the original lamp, which is Krishna, and you may light so many other different lamps from that lamp, but ultimately they're all the same in one sense, although the original can still be taken as the original. So, why specifically Krishna then? Why amongst all the particular incarnations that could have come, anybody could have killed Kamsa? Even the Pandavas themselves, theoretically, could have killed Kamsa. They were so powerful. Nobody could match Arjuna in battle. It's not that Krishna necessarily had to come to kill the demoniac kings. Srila Prabhupada makes this point many different times, that especially for annihilating the demons, it's not that Krishna, he himself has to come. Actually, often, Krishna arranges such a situation to create hostilities between the demons so that they'll destroy themselves. So in this way, Krishna annihilates the demons, but he indirectly does so through the force of Maya. So why specifically did Krishna come himself? Why is it necessitated that Krishna decided to appear? So, Kunti Maharani, she gives many different reasons. Amongst many, theoretically, there's innumerable reasons why Krishna appeared. You could say, ultimately, there's one reason. In one sense, you could say there's no reason, because it's causeless. There is no reason why Krishna appeared. In one sense, you could say there's one reason he appeared, because he just desired to do so. And another way, you could take it as so many different reasons of why Krishna appeared. Just like I was speaking, to protect the devotees, to annihilate the demons. Kunti Maharani, she gives many different reasons. Kechada horajam jatam punishloka sakirtaye yedo priyasa antvavaye malayaseva chandanam. She says, sorry, bear with me, as I have to increase the font continuously. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu. One of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. So, for the glorification of pious devotee kings is one such reason why Krishna came to this material world. Of course, we don't particularly hear so much of within the Mahabharata itself. I mean, first, the fact we have the Mahabharata, and within the Mahabharata, it looks like he glorified Yudhishthira Maharaj more, or even Ugrasena Maharaj more than Yadu, who was quite a little distance from, I mean, he was you could say, progenitor of the dynasty, but Yadu Maharaj is not so much mentioned. But just by Krishna's taking birth in Yadu Maharaj's dynasty, Yadu Maharaj became glorified. Krishna, we sing so many different names of Krishna. Krishna is famous as Yadu Nandana, the child of the Yadus. Yadava, Yaduvira, Yaduttama, the best of the Yadus. Even the demigods, they glorify Krishna as Yaduttama. Tvam pasi nastari bhavanam chayudhadu nesha bharam bhuvo hara yaduttanam vandanam te. They offer their prayers unto the best of the Yadus. So Yadu Maharaj, he's glorified even amongst the demigods, although he was a king on earth. Why? Simply because Krishna chose to take birth in his dynasty. So simply by Krishna's appearing in his dynasty, Yadu Maharaj was glorified. Of course, other kings were glorified. Principally, Srila Prabhupada makes the point, principally Yudhishthira Maharaj. In many different ways. Obviously, Krishna awarded Yudhishthira Maharaj the world. He made him emperor of the world. Even Krishna himself displayed the pastime of showing subordinance to Yudhishthira Maharaj. But Krishna's glorification of Yudhishthira Maharaj wasn't just giving him a kingdom. Krishna's glorification of Yudhishthira Maharaj was also exhibiting the glorious character of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna puts his devotee into difficult circumstances, as Srila Prabhupada writes in the regarding Bhishma Dev, to facilitate the exchange of transcendental bhav with his devotee. But in doing so, and putting his devotee in difficulties, he also glorifies his devotee. Just as tomorrow, Krishna famously putting Srila Prabhupada through many different difficulties, Srila Prabhupada is glorified because of that. So similarly too, Krishna put the Pandavas through many difficulties. Kunti Maharani, previously she recounted these. Vishan Mahagne Purashada Darshanad Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichataha Mride Nika Maharata Strato Draune Astratas Chasma Hare Brakshitaha. First, Yudhishthira Maharaj's brother, Bhishma Dev, he was fed a poison cake. But actually, there were multiple attempts on his life, at least one other that comes to my mind. He was fed a poison cake, and then he was thrown into some vessel of water, the ocean or something like this, by Duryodhana. So Yudhishthira's family was attacked. He himself was attacked by Rakshasas when they were when they were exiled to the forest. Yudhishthira Maharaj himself was, you could say, dishonored, and all of the Pandavas and his own wife were dishonored before the whole Asat Sabha, the whole crew, impious assembly, you could say, or undharmic assembly is a better word, in the court of the Kurus. And despite all of these difficulties, and despite the dishonor that Yudhishthira Maharaj received, at no point did Yudhishthira Maharaj ever become inimical towards the Kuru dynasty. He was always ready to reconcile Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra. He never felt enmity within his heart. Therefore, he's glorified as Ajata Shastru, one whose enemy is never born. So Krishna, by putting Yudhishthira Maharaj in these difficulties, and the Pandavas in general, he glorified the devotional characters like this. And of course, beyond that, Krishna glorified them in different ways. He glorified them as great fighters, by arranging the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And obviously, he glorified them by giving them, you could say, the material possession of, name, fame, wealth, etc. like that. The Pandavas are remembered even to today. Their glory extends like that. The whole Mahabharata, you could say, is just an account, more or less, is an account of the Pandavas actually more than it is an account of Krishna. Krishna is there, but he puts the Pandavas even before him. So Krishna, one such reason is for the glorification of pious kings. Another reason, Kunti Maharani says, Bharavatarana yanye bhuvanave vodado sidentya puribharena jativedat atma bivartitaha. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is very much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so that you have appeared to diminish the trouble. So the world at the time, just prior to Krishna's appearance, was specifically this word overburden is used many different times. The demigods use this word in their prayers. The world, just like I quoted before, the demigods, they pray, Matyachva Kachap Narasimha Varaham Sarajana Vipra Vibhudishi Kritavataraha Tvam Pasinastri Bhavram Chayitha Dinisha Param Bhuvo Hara Yudita Namvandanam Te. Please, they prayed to Krishna within Devaki's womb that you previously appeared as Narasimha, you appeared as Vamana when there is trouble. Now please, again, the world is overburdened. Please, again, manifest within this world and remove this burden of the earth. So the demigods, they pray like this. So this burden was there on the earth, that many different demonic kings, powerful kings, which were actually not even able to, although we hear about the battle of Kurukshetra, and we may take it for granted that these kings were very easily killed by the will of Krishna, but actually they were very, very extremely powerful kings. Dhritarashtra, for instance, even though we see in the Bhagavad Gita those famous paintings, he seems like just an incapable old man. He's blind. Practically, Duryodhana is running the kingdom, but he was the strongest man on the planet. Dhritarashtra, he embraced, out of anger, he embraced an iron statue of Bhima. And he embraced that statue so hard, the statue exploded into bits. He was so strong. What does it speak of the commanders unto him? Bhishma Dev had no equal on the battlefield. Dronacharya, Kripacharya, etc. Such extremely powerful generals. Shishupal, even though he was killed like that by Krishna, he was an incredibly powerful king, actually. So the world, what to speak of Kamsa as well. So the world was overburdened by all these demoniac rulers. And so it's mentioned that generally, not only did these kings present an issue for the human kings of society, you could say, they presented an issue even for the demigods. Because Srila Prabhupada makes the point in the 10th canto that when there's a problem on earth that the administrative demigods can't fix themselves, then at that point they approach the Lord of Brahma to fix. As if you've read the Bhagavatam, you know so many different times. This happens so many different times. And when Lord Brahma himself can't do anything about it, then he approaches Lord Vishnu. So not even Lord Brahma could do anything about these kings that were overburdening the earth. There was such a powerful force. So Lord Brahma, he approached Lord Vishnu, Kshirotakachari Vishnu, residing on the milk ocean, and he sung this Purusha Shukta prayers for the satisfaction of Vishnu. And he prayed, Lord Brahma, we're seeing here, he prayed unto Lord Vishnu to diminish the trouble. And Lord Brahma, he got word, you could say, from Lord Vishnu that he'll soon appear on this earth and remove, along with his associates, and remove this demonic burden on the earth. So one such reason is this. So simply put, that the earth was overburdened, and to answer the prayer of Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna came. Although at the same time he's not, many different angles can be looked at it. One sense he gave, Lord Brahma prayed, he could have not answered Lord Brahma's prayer. He could have gave Lord Brahma his word, but he wasn't obligated to come. Despite all these reasons, Lord Krishna is still independent in his doing all these things. I'm making the point, just a side point, the demigods themselves, they wanted to see Lord Krishna come and remove these demoniac kings. But not only that, that's not the only reason the demigods wanted Lord Krishna to come. The point is made, that I've cited. Dishya haresya bhavadav pado bhavo bharo panitas tava janmaneshituhu dishyan kitam nvat patakai shishobaner drakshama gam dhyam chetavanu kampitam. The demigods again pray in Garbhastuti, they pray to Lord Krishna within Devaki's womb. Oh Lord, we are fortunate because the heavy burden of the demons upon this earth is immediately removed by your appearance. So they're looking forward to this, obviously. But indeed, we are certainly fortunate, for we shall be able to see upon this earth and in the heavenly planets the marks of lotus, conch shell, club, and disc that adorn your feet. So not only were the demigods looking for the burden to be removed, the demigods also just wanted to see Krishna's beautiful lotus feet. They wanted to see these lotus feet mark the earth with these gorgeous impressions of Shankha Chakra, etc., like this. And where I just read earlier from this purport, amongst everybody, the most fortunate are those, the cowherd boys, cowherd men, and cowherd girls in Vrindavan. Why? Because they were able to constantly see the marks of these lotus feet upon, within the realm of Vrindavan. They constantly had vision of these lotus feet. So this is just another reason why Krishna came to this world. Another reason, Kunti Maharani says, which is more relevant for us, we could say, Bhavismin kleshamananam avedya kamakarma behi shravana smaranarhani karshyan itikechana. And yet others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshiping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pains might take advantage and gain liberation. So generally, so Krishna comes, as I've cited, he comes to this world and he establishes the principles of religion. Dharma. Dharma means many different things. Generally, the demigods make the point in their prayers to Krishna within the womb. Generally, you come to this world to establish what? You give Veda, Kriya, Yoga, Tapa, Samadhi, peace. You give, generally, just, you could say, the lower principles of religion. Study of the Vedas, those religious activities. You manifest the Vedas. You give those religious, you are the progenitor. You set forward the principles of Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda as well. These Vedic conjunctions, you teach this to human society yourself. You set this forward. You teach the principles of yoga. You teach the principles of austerity. You teach the yogis how to become absorbed in samadhi. But generally, Krishna doesn't teach devotional service to the population in general. Generally, even the Vedas is just studied amongst the Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas then impart knowledge of the Vedas to people in general. But Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, is generally reserved for the Paramahamsas. Queen Kunti, elsewhere before, she says, Tata Paramahamsanam, Muninam Amalatmanam, Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartam, Katam Pashema Histriha. She says that generally you come, and when you come, you give knowledge of Bhakti Yoga unto Paramahams, Tata Paramahamsanam. Only unto those Paramahamsas do you instruct Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga. How can I, who am just a woman, understand such a thing? Even in Gita, we hear, Srila Prabhupada makes the point that Gita was meant for this Rajarshis, saintly kings. And people very, very elevated in spiritual knowledge and culture. Generally, it's not meant for the general class of living beings, you could say. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point in his purport, I think, so generally, the Lord doesn't instruct Bhakti Yoga to conditioned souls. Generally, it's reserved for very, very elevated souls who are very, very spiritually elevated. But Srila Prabhupada, he makes the point in his purport, the Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. Adoption of the above-mentioned items or any one of them can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nescience and thus become liberated from all material sufferings, etc. like this. So, out of Krishna's causeless mercy, even though he just doesn't generally do so, he instructs even conditioned souls, which is meant for the Paramahamsas, which is meant for perfect souls actually, in the science of devotional service. He gives us this process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam, the ninefold process of devotional service. He comes to this world to teach. Prahlad Maharaj, he has a similar prayer himself. What is that? Tate, I'm just forgetting it. He lists the reason for Nrsimhadeva's appearance as also to teach, giving these processes of devotional service in his ultimate prayer to Nrsimhadev. So by taking advantage of these processes of devotional service, one can be purified and the conditioned souls can escape the pangs of repeated birth and death. As Kunti Maharani, again, after this verse, she says, Shrimvanti Gayanti Gurinanti Abhikshnasaha Smaranti Nandanti Tavitam Janaha Taeva Pashanti Acharena Tabakam Bhava, what is that? Bhava Pravaho Paramam Padambujam, that one who Shimvanti Gayanti Gurinanti, one who hears, one who chants, one who glorifies about you, one who does so doesn't see repeated birth and death. One who does so, this Bhava Pravaho Paramam, this Bhava, this samsara, it ends for them. So, this is another reason why Krishna descends into this world. Kunti Maharani is giving. For the benefit of the conditioned souls, he descends into this world. Another reason why he comes, Kunti Maharani gives, Apare Vasudevasya Devakim Yachito Bhyagat Ajastvam Asakshe Maya Vadhaya Chasra Advisham. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you were unborn. Well, I'll get to that. So Vasudeva and Devaki, they prayed for Lord Krishna to become their son. This is narrated in the 10th canto psalm. Formerly, Vasudeva, he was a Prajapati. He was a progenitor of mankind. He was a son of Lord Brahma, actually. His name was Sutapa, and his wife, Devaki, was then Prishni. Yeah, Prishni. And then, so Sutapa and Prishni, because Lord Brahma wanted them to create progeny, they engaged in austerities. And they engaged for austerities and 12,000 celestial years, means 12,000 years of the demigods, which is, I don't know the conversion to our time, but it's a long, long time. They subsided, they didn't eat anything, their only foodstuff was just eating dry leaves that have fallen from trees. And, of course, that's not what pleased Krishna necessarily. Hiranyakashipu also did something like that. But what pleased Krishna, they pleased Krishna because they were always serving Krishna within their heart during when they executed these austerities. And Krishna being pleased, he appeared, Lord Vishnu Narayana, Lord Vishnu appeared before them, and they prayed at that time that Lord Vishnu to become their son. Out of influence of the material of Yogamaya, it's described there. So he became their son as Prishni Garbha, a little bit is narrated there. And then in their next life, again, he became their son. They took the form, they were then Kashyapa and Aditi, Aditi is the mother of the demigods. Kashyapa is father of the many demigods. Great Muni as well, a very famous Muni, and he came as Vamana. So he appeared amongst the demigods then. And then this third, you could say, appearance, third birth, quote unquote, as Vasudeva and Devaki, again, Krishna is coming, but instead, this time he's coming himself. Jiva Goswami, he makes the point that in Prishni Garbha and Vamanadev, there are only partial incarnations of Krishna. But in this third birth, Krishna himself comes and he appears before Vasudeva and Devaki, and he immediately gives them assurance. When Krishna appeared at midnight, first he appeared as a baby boy, and then he manifested his Vishnu form to give them assurance that I'm the Supreme Lord himself. You shouldn't fear of Kamsa's persecutions. So this, summing up, that Vasudeva and Devaki, they prayed unto Lord Vishnu for this benediction, and Lord Vishnu is fulfilling this benediction that he will become their sons. This is another reason. Another reason, which can be taken here, undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. So, yet another reason, Lord Krishna came not just to become their son, but to also protect them from Kamsa's persecutions. And not just them, many different devotees. In general, I mean, it's affirmed elsewhere in the Bhagavatam. Iti chashma kalapum Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakulam Loke Mridayanti Yoge Yoge. Yuga after yuga, literally, Krishna comes again and again to annihilate the enemies of Indra, specifically the demons, in other words. So many places in the Bhagavatam, the 9th canto, again, there's many verses there. Shukadeva Goswami speaks on why Krishna comes to this material world. And again, he reiterates this point. He comes to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. Simply put, as He says in Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yuga after yuga, Krishna comes for these two purposes: killing the demons and protecting the devotees. I made the point previously that he doesn't necessarily have to come to kill the demons. That he can do remotely by the agency of Maya. But sometimes he wants to come and kill the demons personally. Sometimes he so desires. But more so than that, more so than killing the demons, for instance, is protecting the devotees. He specifically comes to protect the devotees, as he did protecting Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, from Kamsa, but also from the demons that invaded Vrindavan, Kaliya, etc. In many different ways, he protected the residents of Vrindavan. And the residents of Vrindavan expected protection from Krishna. Although still yet, Krishna doesn't necessarily have to come to protect his devotees. We see, for instance, in the case of Prahlad Maharaj, he was protected by Krishna from his very birth. Hiranyakashipu tried so many different ways to kill Prahlad Maharaj, but he was always under the protection of Krishna. So it's not necessarily still that Krishna has to personally come to protect his devotees, but still, nevertheless, he sometimes wants to personally come and do so and display that pastime. Srila Prabhupada elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, he makes the point that this protection, it also refers not just to, you could say, protection of those apparently material forms, or the gross body, we could say like that, but it means to satisfy his devotees, to satisfy the desires of his devotees, and to have loving exchanges with his devotees, which in one sense, in one place, Srila Prabhupada says, this is the ultimate reason. There's many different reasons, but the ultimate reason why Krishna comes is for this particular reason, to facilitate loving relationships with his devotees. He didn't necessarily come to kill Kamsa. In one sense he did, but not so much. Kamsa is not so much important. He didn't personally have to come and protect Devaki and Vasudeva. But he came specifically more so than that to engage in loving, to share loving relationships with him. Srila Prabhupada, he writes in his Bhagavad Gita, in purport to this Pritranaya Sadhunam, he says, Lord Sri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees. So Krishna mitigates the anxieties of the devotees, and the principal chief anxiety of a devotee, more so than anything else, is separation from Krishna. So by Krishna's appearance into this material world, Krishna mitigates the anxiety, mitigates the separation of his devotees. Specifically, it's mentioned here, as we were reading, especially the separation felt by those devotees. Of course, all devotees, Vasudeva and Devaki, they were feeling separation when Krishna was in Vrindavan, for instance. And Krishna then relieved that when he returned to Mathura. When Bhagavatam classes were sort of around that section. We heard about that somewhere recently. But Krishna, he specifically, those who were feeling the separation more intensely than anybody else were the residents of Vrindavan, as Srila Prabhupada made the point in this purport I read. And amongst those residents of Vrindavan, even more so is the anxiety felt by those of the gopis. So Krishna relieves this anxiety and separation of all these devotees. At the same time, he simultaneously creates this anxiety of separation. Krishna comes not just to relieve the anxiety, but he comes to create more anxiety of separation with his devotees. Krishna comes and he has pastimes in Vrindavan. So he pleases Yashoda Mai, for instance, by engaging in childhood pastimes, but he creates anxiety within Yashoda Mai's mind by going to the forest during the day to where she isn't able to see him. Similarly, too, also the gopis, the same situation. When he goes to the cowherd boy, to play with the cowherd boys, the gopis is described in the 9th canto. They feel like a moment to be a millennium, not seeing, as Lord Chaitanya, he prays in his Shikshashtakam, not being able to see Krishna like this. So simultaneously, Krishna comes to relieve the anxiety of his devotees, yet at the same time, he increases the anxiety of his devotees. But the central point is that he satisfies the devotees, and he increases the love of his devotees. In one sense, you could tie this to the point of coming to rescue the conditioned souls, in that he comes to induce surrender unto him. Why? Not just for the sake of surrender, of course that's there, but to increase one's love for the Supreme Lord. So yes, Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport, sorry I got sidetracked, those mitigating the anxieties of the pure devotees who are always anxious to see him in his original Vrindavan pastimes. Therefore, the prime purpose of the Krishna avatar is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. So there's many different reasons why Krishna comes to this material world. I've listed a few. Kunti Maharani, she lists a few. You can come up with unlimited reasons why Krishna comes to this material world. You can analyze in many different ways, but the ultimate reason is this: simply to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. Simply out of love for his devotees, he comes to this material world. Particularly, he does this in any incarnation, of course. As we read, in this incarnation of Krishna specifically, of course, he's the original Supreme Personality of God himself, the fountainhead of all incarnations. Yet, despite being so, he's the most approachable incarnation. It's the sweetest incarnation. He's only in this incarnation will you find, for example, the highest pastimes. He is being the fountainhead himself, he's also the fountainhead of the superlative most excellent pastimes, which are those pastimes which are manifest in Vrindavan. So, specifically, Krishna comes to manifest these Vrindavan pastimes, both for the devotees, but to also show the world. I think Srila Prabhupada writes in his Krishna book this point somewhere around the chapters of the Rasa Leela, that by exhibiting, I'm paraphrasing of course, by exhibiting the Rasa Leela within this material world, Krishna showed the conditioned souls of this world what actual spiritual enjoyment is. What that enjoyment which is far, far, far superior than any mundane taste of this material world. And of course, in so doing, Krishna accomplishes one by one act, in one fell swoop he accomplishes many different things. So by Krishna's appearing, all these reasons I've listed, he fulfilled all of them at once. At once, and then some took some time. Kingdom of Come took some time. Removing the burden of the earth, it took practically up until the point where Krishna left the earth, because he considered the Yadu dynasty even to be a burden of the earth. But just within this act of appearing, Krishna's appearance, he fulfilled all these purposes of incarnation. Yeah, more could be said. I don't want to speak so long because it's quite early, and we'll hear more later. I'll just make one other point. The actual festival, technically, is tomorrow, actually. Because Krishna appeared at midnight. Today, actually, if you take it today, actually, what is known as Janmastami. Of course, Vedic days go from sunrise to sunset, not midnight to not this 12 a.m. system we follow in the West. But the actual celebration of Krishna's appearance, just like is held tomorrow. Just we have the festival of Jagannath Mishra. Lord Chaitanya, he appeared during a lunar eclipse, but the festival is held the day after. The celebrations were held. So actually, this is observed by devotees. It's a very common practice. But the huge festival that Nanda Maharaj that we hear about in the Bhagavatam, it was observed tomorrow actually. But it just strikes me that out of Krishna's causeless affection for his pure devotee, he bequeathed Srila Prabhupada that day which was actually meant for his own celebration. Nandotsav, we'll say tomorrow, today is Nandotsav. We don't actually practically celebrate it so much. Krishna reserved his own, you could say, huge birthday party, for lack of a better, appearance party, for the glorification of Srila Prabhupada. So, I just wanted to mention that. Of course, that's tomorrow, but in my mind, the two things are inseparable. Srila Prabhupada gave us Janmastami, he gave us Krishna, etc. like that. The two, by the mercy of Krishna, one gets a guru, and the mercy of guru, one gets Krishna. So the two things in my mind, at least, are inseparable, Vyasa Puja and Janmashtami. So, I've listed some reasons why Krishna came to this material world. I hope I've tried to do some justice to Janmashtami, and I'm sure we'll hear more later in New Talavan. So I can end there if anybody wants to add anything or make any points or questions.
So on the appearance days of the Lord, one of the things like today we're doing is fasting,
Uh-huh.
and then we staying up late. Could you shine some light on
Yeah,
why
actually,
we are doing these
Yeah,
things?
actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Why we do this, actually, to my knowledge, it's not a Shastra. It's not, you won't find this in the Vedas, for instance, you won't find this in the Puranas. Even the technical sections, like when it's talking about, if you consult the Padma Purana, to my knowledge, these things aren't there. And generally, amongst Indians, you'll find during Janmastami celebrations, it's not, people don't fast, actually. It's not quite common. But we follow this because Sanatana Goswami writes specifically in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, which we follow generally according to those principles given on our acharyas. He writes this there. We're fasting specifically because he's given that regulation. Presumably, it may have some basis in Shastra. I'm not exactly saying that. I'm just not exactly aware of that, and I haven't heard about it. But even before that, sometimes you'll find some Vaishnavas even, they don't fast on Janmashtami. So why are we fasting on Janmashtami? Even some things in the Hari Bhakti Vilas we don't necessarily follow. So why are we following this and why are we not following other things? Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur specifically did so. It's written in the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava that he had a custom that ever since his whole life, he would fast full on Janmashtami all the way up until midnight. And this became a standard within the Gaudiya Mat. And of course, Srila Prabhupada imbibed that same mood, and he taught it to his disciples. So it's going on in Parampara like that. That's my understanding as far as the fasting. Is that okay? You can add more if you want. And we stay up until midnight because that's when Krishna appeared, obviously. That's also there.
I've heard things like, and that's why I was asking you, is that one of the reasons is to, just like you fast on Ekadasi, is also the purpose is to reduce bodily activities.
That's another point, yeah.
So that
that's the whole point of the fasting, yeah.
We glorify, Krishna more. That's another reason I heard.
That's another point,
okay,
yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Glorification of Krishna also comes in different forms. I'll just add a footnote to that. Just like, of course, here we're not doing it, but typically when it's Janmashtami, even though the devotees don't take prasad, you cook more than any other time of the year, but it's not for your own, of course, at no point do you do for your own benefit, but specifically on Janmashtami, so many items are prepared for Krishna. Specifically on Janmashtami, I would say all these, the whole Janmashtami Vrata, is just to induce, you're saying, which is correct, reducing bodily activities, making facility for hearing and chanting, serving Krishna in many different ways. I saw pictures just the other day, people decorations going on in Vrindavan at like midnight the day before, just decorating the temple even before the day before Janmashtami. So engaging in Krishna, at least one day out of the year for amongst us conditioned souls where we can just put aside all material, you could say contrivances or complexities and just focus on hearing and chanting about Krishna, which is, I would say, the ultimate end like that. So yeah. Yes.
Prabhu, you quoted this nice verse about those who take pleasure in hearing and chanting, Shrivanti, Gayanti. I wanted to hear your perspective on this because it's interesting in the translation. Prabhupada says, or those who take pleasure in helping others also do so.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It seems like that's like Queen Kunti is like glorifying book distribution or something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's this verse, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Abhikshna Saha. There's also Shrinvan Grinan Samsmarayamshta Chintayan. What is it? Chintayan Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu Yastvach Charanaravindayo. So even though one may be engaged in practical activity, still the Shrinvan Grinan Samsmarayam, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti, etc. It's all the same. So even though, of course, the demigods pray this in their prayers, even though one is engaged in many different activities, this kriyasu, this practical labor, it gives you practical absorption in devotional service. And of course, this Shrimanti Gayanti Grinanti Abhikshna Saha, Smaranti Nandanti Tavitam Janaha, of course, is a glorification of book distribution as well. So, yeah. I hope that's okay. Anything else? Coffee brew? It's similar to what the gopis prayed, actually. I don't know the Sanskrit to that, but that's there in the Gopi Gita, that verse, that people who do so, people who induce others to chant about Krishna, they're the most magnanimous persons. They're the greatest persons. Yeah.
So I had two questions. So the first one's pretty quick, but when Kamsa was driving Vasudeva and Devaki on the marriage ceremony, and then that voice from the sky gives that prophecy. Does anybody know who said that?
The demigods.
The demigods.
Yeah, you have further insight? You can just speak if you know.
I read this yesterday, but I believe Narada Muni did. I could find that reference real quick.
Yeah, can you find that reference? You know exactly where it's at?
I read it yesterday.
I remember hearing that also. I guess while he's looking for that, I'll ask my next question, then come back, because I have something connection with that. So you're discussing a lot, just different points about why Krishna comes, and you mentioned a lot of different reasons. And ultimately, Krishna comes to, engage with his pure devotees.
Yeah.
So, in Krishna consciousness in life, sometimes it's we come to Krishna consciousness or we practice Krishna consciousness, and it's we can get, sidetracked from the actual goal or the point, which is to become Krishna conscious and to be engaged in pure devotional service. So specifically being on Janmastami, how do we keep that focus and not get sidetracked? For Krishna comes specifically for that, and the acharyas come for that, but then there's kind of all these other little side things that happen simultaneously also.
Yeah, how do you keep, amidst distractions, deviations, tangential things that can happen in our Krishna consciousness. Well, one thing is that days like this especially, it gives us a pretty good, you could say, or at least I take it like this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says Ekadashi specifically, but I'm not so Krishna conscious to consider it like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that holy days, specifically in Ekadashi, you can examine your devotional service and see where you're at. But, of course, I'm not exactly that spiritually intelligent to do so. But at least on Janmashtami, Gaura Purnima, etc., which is our two biggest festivals of the year, you could say, you could examine where you're at in devotional service. You can re-examine what your priorities are in devotional service, how you're progressing in devotional service. Actually, I read something extremely beautiful. I don't know if I can pull it up. Okay, yeah. Well, the simple, obvious answer, the simple, obvious answer is you just engage in the process of Krishna consciousness, and Krishna helps you. But there's I'll explain that a little bit. So, actually, Dweep Puja Prabhu he shared this. So I read this the other day. I thought this was the most amazing purport I've ever seen in my life. So, Krishna consciousness means, this is just a verse from the 4th canto, I'm not even necessarily sure the chapter. Between Narada Muni and King Prachina Bali, so presumably Narada Muni is speaking in this verse. Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. Now, I'll read from the purport, just bear with me. This is a super amazing purport. It has been explained in the previous verse that all desires on the mental platform become visible one after another. Sometimes, however, by the supreme will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the whole stockpile can be visible at one time. In the Brahma Samhita, it says, Karmani netrahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When a person is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his stockpile of material desires is minimized. Indeed, the desires no longer fructify in the form of gross bodies. Instead, the stockpile of desires become visible on the mental platform by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I'll skip over a little bit. He talks about Rahu. And then, so here, no living entity is free from the cycle of birth and death unless he takes to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated, Sattvaika Nishte, that when one is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in one stroke, he is free from past and future mental desires. Then, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, everything becomes simultaneously manifest within the mind. And then he goes on like this. He makes some other side points. A Krishna conscious person can see all his dormant desires at one time and finish all his future transmigrations. This facility is especially given to the devotee to make his path clear for returning home back to the Godhead. So, I thought this was amazing, because often in Krishna consciousness you get sidetracked by things you don't even know about, and sometimes you go off and you don't even know you're going off. So how do you know? How do you not get bewildered by desires that you may not even recognize? The answer is this: you pray to Krishna, and He'll show you those desires. Even though you have those desires in your mind, if you pray to Krishna sincerely, which we can do particularly today in Janmastami, we could do every single day, and we should do every single day. Particularly Gaura Nitaya are extremely merciful in fulfilling prayers. Krishna especially on his appearance days. So, but this point of praying to Krishna, that, I don't know what, we may not even know where we're at in devotional service. We may be executing devotional service, but something may be wrong with our devotional service. So we should pray to Krishna, please expose my material desires and expose my anartha so I can see. And if we pray like that, He can show us. He may not necessarily, of course there's work on our part to do so, just like so many material desires can be there in the mind, but at least if Krishna gives us the facility to recognize the material desire, then if we have the sincerity within our heart, we can acknowledge that, like that, etc. So, succinctly put, just praying unto Krishna is one of the most important things. It helps immensely. I mean, it can sound sort of like a staid thing that, you just pray to Krishna and it will help you, but it makes it different. Just like Bhrigu Prabhu, for instance, he gave that whole class of his realization in Krishna consciousness. What it just boils down to is he just prays unto the Acharya, the 6 Goswamis. It's nothing, actually it's something amazing how many people in this world are praying unto the 6 Goswamis. But this aspect of prayer, and there's so many different prayers we can offer. Of course, we can compose our own prayers like this. Within the Bhagavatam, there's prayers as well. Kunti Maharani, I've just recited some of her prayers. Kunti Maharani prays for difficulties, for instance. So by this prayer and by this praying to Krishna to keep us on track in Krishna consciousness, this is, at least according to my understanding, the most beneficial thing. Srila Prabhupada, he himself, famously he said, I myself am praying not to fall down into Maya. So if we pray constantly like that, how can Krishna let us fall down if we're sincere ourselves, of course? So Jitagurish, you have, I'll clarify this point and then come back. You have anything further?
Well, I found where Narada says, Narada Muni.
No, but is he the Akashvani? I never heard that actually.
To my knowledge, and I think I seem to
Demigods I've heard.
I seem to recall reading this from like a commentary or something like this, is that the Akashvani is from the demigods, because they already knew Krishna was coming. They were waiting for Krishna to come. The Lord Brahma had made he had requested Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and then Lord Brahma, he told the demigods wanted to get things rolling. So they immediately told Kamsa, they started things off like that, just to facilitate the pastimes like that. Narada Muni also did something similar in revealing that, but you have
Anyways, he acts
later in a different way.
Yeah.
In a different way.
This is different.
But there's a Akashvani according to my understanding. You have something that.
Anyways, yeah, just kind of confirming what y'all are saying here. I was mistaken. Narada Muni, I quote, says to Kamsa, "You have a younger sister named Devaki, and it is a fact that her eighth son will kill you."
He exposes.
But this is
the Krishna, you could say.
He gives the details.
Yeah.
Narada Muni gives Kangsa the details of how
Later,
the-
but that's much later.
yeah, it's when
I
after
think
he
that's the
imprisons
confusion.
Devaki and Vasudeva.
Yeah, but the Akashvani is from the demigods, according to my remembrance of it. Okay, yeah.
But anyways, I just mentioned that, it just, because it seems like that nobody could have killed Kamsa except Krishna, because anyways, I'm just thinking because there's like there that, what is it, Prahlad Maharaj says that, you know that one too, what is that, oh, Krishna, Manye Sabritya, what is that?
What?
How does that start? It starts with, Mat Prana Raksham Ananta Pitor Vidascha, Manye Sabritya Rishi Bhakti Mritam Vidatum. That the, you know, whatever, that because like Prahlad Maharaj told him that like, Narada Muni told Prahlad that I'll protect you, so therefore he
kept
Krishna
true to his
appeared,
words,
Nrsimhadeva
yeah.
appeared to kill. So I was just thinking that it seemed that like the devotees were saying that only Krishna could kill.
Yeah,
the eighth
because it
son,
was
so then,
predicted.
like,
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Anyways, there's like some detail
Yeah,
thing.
that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
So, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I mean,
One small point that we have many reasons why we can keep fasting according to the Ekadashi or some celebrations, that like we can take a rest for our digesting the body, and we don't then wasting so much time for this engagements. But most important way is for pleasing Krishna, because
Yeah.
Krishna is pleased, because then he like when his devotees fasting in Ekadashi and fasting, and he pleased with this. When whatever we're doing, this is for Krishna pleasing. And how we can understand it? Acharya gave us, Prabhupada gave us, Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur gave us, and this is for Krishna pleasing. And when you understand this, fasting is more easy for you, because sometimes you're thinking, why I should do this, and always my body is very weak, and I cannot concentrate, and all this is difficult to read, I want to sleep, and all this. It is for Krishna pleasing. At least once this is Ekadashi or this fasting, we can do for Krishna. And it gives us an inspiration more.
yeah, thank you. Those are good points. So, Mataji's? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. It's good to be back in here. I just wanted to mention a particular purport that I read. I did have a question, but you pretty much answered it according to what Avadut asked and Kalki Prabhu's second question. But it kind of made me also think about a particular purport. It's in Canto 6, when Ajamil was speaking, after the Yamaduts came to get him, and he was able to be saved by the Vishnu Dutes. And so Canto 4, Canto 6, Chapter 4, 35 and 36 in the purport. One thing that stood out in particular was Srila Prabhupada. He mentions that, he says, the advanced devotees are the ones that go out and preach. They're the ones that go out and share the information. And I think it kind of like repeats the same thing twice. Like he kind of like praises the devotees that go out and preach. He's like, that's what advances us. And then he also mentions, he says that these advanced devotees never fall down. And so that really stood out to me because, like you were saying, there's so many things that we don't even know we have these desires. And then when they come up, it's kind of like we may not see them. And so, like that part in particular about never falling down, that really made me want to be more bold about preaching and sharing knowledge and book distribution. So, yeah, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. There's, of course, Srila Prabhupada, he himself stressed this point of perfection by service, particularly, especially by preaching. And a purport to this verse I quoted, this Tataparamaham Sanam, in the last line, Srila Prabhupada, he writes that advanced devotees meditate upon Krishna by active service. So yeah, especially done so by preaching. It's incredibly pleasing. So yeah. Of course, there's many different things, cow protection. Lord Krishna isn't pleased where there's not cow protection, so amongst other things. So Brahminical culture and cow protection. It's interesting. You have something, Mataji? Or okay, anything else? Okay, you have?
I was just thinking how when you were saying that, you generally cook more for Krishna today.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we do that in temples. We have like whatever, 108 offerings or 508, 1,008. And there's all kinds of like crazy,
The
numbers.
congregation is involved, yeah.
Yeah. But then, I was thinking that someday, if we are to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's mandate to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world and make it prominent, then Janmastami should become even bigger. It should be the biggest celebration, in the whole world. Practically, it should. You can get a glimpse of how festive it can be in India. It's like, after I said that, we reduce bodily activities to hear and chant, but on Janmastami in India, it's so much preaching opportunity. It's a great opportunity to distribute so many books, because people just come and there's so much activity, and if you can chant your 16 rounds, you're great. I mean, it's almost impossible most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a very ecstatic festival. The preparations. We were seeing that in the manor 3 weeks before. They were already like anxiety that Janmashtami is going. They have 70,000 people visiting, 75,000 in the manor. That's amazing because, I was talking to Mitravan Prabhu, and in Salem they have 70,000, 75,000. So in the manor to get 70,000, 75,000, that's really, really amazing. Anyways, someday, we should hope.
It can be done.
Yeah.
It's possible, just like this Diwali is now known. Even in the Western world, people know Diwali. Employers, at least, some employers, they give Diwali off to Hindus.
Yeah.
It's possible. Things change, 50 years ago, what Westerner even understands like Diwali is, But now it's quite well known, actually. So it's possible. It can make a big change. And just in relation to your first point, Janmashtami especially seems like of course this year not so, we're still like whatever, we're having like a 6-hour drive, and then like there's a lot of stuff going on, but it is one of the most hectic times of the year. Even you're making this point of like, actually you may not even hear and chant so much about on these days. That's usually the case, at least in past Janmashtamis for me. Of course this we have, at least some may have facility to read in the car, etc. like this, but generally, even, I was just reading a little bit earlier, even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so one of his close disciples was saying that he would chant, discussing the point how much he would chant if he still kept chanting 3 lakh every single day. He chanted a lot. Some say, he was saying he possibly did 2 lakh, around 2 lakh of names means, that's like 48 rounds, somewhere around there. But he said, he recounted on Janmashtami, though, and like the days around Janmashtami, things were so busy, like he only chanted like 1 lakh of names. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
What's 1 lakh?
1 lakh is, the 3 lakh is like 64, so that's like 20 something? 21 and a half, something like that. Something like that. Because he would be so busy, people come, especially, if he was in Bengal, I can imagine. So many people coming,
3 lakh is 192.
Huh?
3 lakh is 192.
192?
Yeah.
Rounds?
I think,
Really?
3 lakhs is 192.
Oh, yeah,
That's
you're
what
right.
Haridas
So 1 lakh is
Thakur
64. Yeah, I'm sorry. So still in Janmashtami we would chant, that's crazy. Then even normal days he would chant like 128 rounds. My God, When Janmashtami, whenever I try to do 64 rounds, it's like, there's no taste. But even on Janmashtami, I was just making the point, even Srila Bhakti, he was so busy in speaking to people that will come, speaking Harikatha to people, he himself wouldn't be able to chant so much about, at least, in Japa.
From his perspective, he wasn't able to chant.
Yeah, so, it's not a new phenomenon, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, I have that one announcement.
Yeah.
You end the class.
Okay, so, Shri Krishna Janmashtami ki
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam